Welcome back, YouTube. Before I get started, I would just like to apologize for any background noise. There are currently fireworks being let off for the holiday weekend. Uh, just if you're curious, it's not gunshots. I live in a pretty safe area. So today I wanted to talk about just kind of the longevity of the game and maintaining your player base, I suppose. Keeping players long term. So what have I've been noticing as I'm playing the game and speaking to other community members is the fact that the game is so heavily RNG based. Now, that's a very integral part of the game, of course, and that's okay, absolutely. The problem comes when you, well, I actually talked to someone about this specific case. They're, level 180 or 190, whatever it is. And what happened was they finally were able to get an extraordinary pet. And as you know, after a very, very long time of grinding, I mean, even me just now at 176% ER, if I wanted to swap stats to, say, CMB, it would take an incredibly long time, a lot of resources, and I would have to swap out my artifact, which I've already spent a purifying stardust on, which is really expensive. I'd have to swap out my Gemini card, or yeah, I guess my Gemini card, which isn't as difficult. But as for pets, because extraordinary pets are so difficult to get a hold of, and you're looking for a specific one for your build, so I would really like to get the Azure Angel for my ER build. Well, this specific player I'm talking about rolled an extraordinary pet that was pretty much useless for their build. And that is incredibly upsetting, and I believe they actually quit playing the game because of this. So, RNG's okay, but it can kind of ruin the game when you spend a lot of time and even money. I mean, it's very expensive for some of these resources. So players who like participate in a pet event, they buy a ton of gems, they spend them on these pet eggs, and then they just get a ton of slimes and nothing great. It's RNG, but I'm sure it can be very upsetting. So I'm kind of just going off the top of my head here. These are just kind of my thoughts in the moment. But I think what would be very, very good for the game and for the player base would be to introduce a trading system. Now, I know we already have the trading house for Zodiac cards, which is great. I think this could be implemented in other aspects of the game. As for pets, I mean, if I roll, let's say the Solar Gecko, and I wanted the Azure Angel, and that's after a year of grinding. You could play the game for a year and finally get an extraordinary pet, and it's not one that's good for your build. Well, it's very unreasonable to completely change your character after so long of grinding up for every single 0.5% of your stat. So I think it would be good for the game to be able to trade pets. And that's just one example, and this is not very like an elaborate way of thinking about it, but I feel like that could be very easily implemented and would help out a lot. So if I roll a pet that somebody else might need and they have one that I need, well, now there's two players that aren't frustrated anymore that they got a bad roll after 12 months of playing the game and can continue to enjoy, having what they grinded for. Those extraordinary pet shards are just basically impossible to get a hold of, especially for free-to-play players like me. Now, I have bought the Blazing Wings, I have bought the Auto Hunt, but, I'm not in here spending $100 for 120 of these wish summons, which, by the way, won't even halfway fill up this bar. Plus, I believe it shows here the chances. Yeah, so for an extraordinary pet shard, you could pay $100 for 120 summons, and your chances of getting that extraordinary pet shard right here on the right, 0.1%, which means you would need 1,000 summons. Mathematically, it would take 1,000 summons to get one spirit pet shard. Now, for 1,000 summons, you're now spending what, $900? $800, however much it is. It's kind of ridiculous. So it's very difficult to grind for, and I guess I can understand that. But again, if you're doing all that grinding and you're not getting much to show for it, that's very discouraging. I mean, I would be upset too if I kept playing for another 6-9 months, and rolled a solar gecko. That'd be very frustrating. I mean, I could use it, but it's just not as viable as what I could get. I mean, some of the mythical pets, I may as well just be using one of those, even though I grinded for the extraordinary so much. Yeah, and I mean, this applies to pretty much everything else. Secret stones, I mean, upon triggering critical hit, I don't need this stone at all. I will never touch it. It's very useless to me. I should be able to exchange all of these shards or trade all of those shards to other players for shards that I do want, like my eternal energy. I would love to be able to star this guy up. But instead I'm getting these RNG rolls for stones that I don't even need. And I mean, that's perfectly fine, and I'm sure there are ways to go about it without completely breaking the game. I mean, setting limits for how much you can trade, or I don't know, things like that. Even spending diamonds as like a tax for trading would be fine, since diamonds are actually not too difficult to get a hold of. Every trade you could tax, like 200 diamonds or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but, the same for artifacts. I should be able to trade a 30% ER artifact for, if I was a CMB player, let's say I just had the 25%. I've got a 25% ER artifact I don't need. Now again, the trading house solves this for Zodiac cards, so why not implement it for artifacts, stones, pets, and the such? I feel like you could even do something like trading materials like spirit pet eggs, enhancement stones for other things. I don't know if that's anything anybody would really be interested in, but it's just a thought, like I said, off the top of my head. Maybe for whatever reason I don't want my enhancement stones and I'd rather trade them for pet eggs. I think that would be a really good feature to implement. Yeah. Another thought, just from looking earlier, and actually on my other account, one of the newer servers, seeing some of these players that just spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to boost their progression, which is very cool, but it for me at least, kind of ruins the game, because and doesn't seem to be as much of an issue on this server. But having a fresh server and then having people spend ridiculous amounts of money on all of these materials, and basically the free-to-play players that are really grinding the game like I do are missing out on all of the rewards because they're just getting passed by people who are willing to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars. So, and again, this is just my personal opinion, but all of the trading, all of these materials, these Morningstar stones, Morningstar orbs, you shouldn't be able to purchase those. That should be all player-based, I roll an extraordinary Zodiac card or something, extraordinary artifact. I could trade that on the trading house, for another different kind of item. I mean, if I don't want that Zodiac card, but somebody else can use it, well, I could use that one mythical spirit pet shard. And again, I know this is already implemented for Zodiac cards. You know, you can get these Morningstar orbs free to play. But it could be implemented for other things, and it could be even tradable for other items. I could trade a Zodiac card for an artifact if I wanted. You know, I just think that would be really, really good for the player base, and to prevent a lot of that frustration from how heavy the RNG is in this game. It takes a lot to grind this game. It's it's daily. I watched, I think, 14 ads today. It was 15 earlier with the turkey event. That's fine. It's free. It takes a little while of my time, but whatever. But, I'm doing all of this. I'm doing all of the extra stuff. I'm waiting weeks for certain events to save up all of my stuff. And, I saved up tons of these dwarf books, tons of enhancement stones. Couldn't even get my gloves to plus 16. Now, what I really like about developing wings is every failure adds 1% to your success rate, which is nice. It's nothing crazy, but it helps out, especially, it could take, hundreds of these plumes in order to upgrade my wings. And it's a grind. I'm probably losing most of those plumes, but I'm guaranteed a specific reward from this, unlike pets where you kind of have a 30% chance of getting or a 33% chance of getting the extraordinary pet that you want. But adding that 1% to the success rate would be nice to have implemented onto your equipment as well, I think. There probably are a couple of other things that have certain success rates. Off the top of my head, I can't really think. Maybe there isn't anything else, but that's just another thought. Adding that failure plus 1% to equipment would be really nice. Yeah, it's super RNG, and you don't have to completely obliterate the RNG aspect of the game, but some of this stuff could just be helpful. So, yeah, those are just kind of my thoughts right now. If you've got any other kind of opinion, or maybe think I'm wrong for thinking these kinds of things, I'd feel welcome to leave it in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion about it, or maybe you can give some of your ideas. Hopefully this gets in the hands of a dev or two. Maybe it'll give them some ideas. Again, I see a lot of long-term players leave the game because they're just, it feels like they wasted so much time grinding for something, and they don't even get to see the fruits of their labor. So that's pretty much it for me, guys. I appreciate you watching. See you next time.